God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the strength in which I trust. God is the strength in which I trust. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. Well, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm Forgiveness Willie, teaching forgiveness from my home place here in the Ozarks. And we're ready for Lesson 60, our last review of Lessons 46 through 50. These ideas are for today's review, and this is for Sunday, March the 1st of 2026. Happy March the 1st. God is the love in which I forgive. God does not forgive because he is never condemned. The blameless cannot blame, and those who have accepted their innocence see nothing to forgive. Yet forgiveness is the means by which I will recognize my innocence. It is the reflection of God's love on earth. It will bring me near enough to heaven that the love of God can reach down to me and raise me up to him. God is the love in which I forgive. God does not forgive because he has never condemned. That's probably a new idea for many of us. 47, review. God is the strength in which I trust. God is not my own strength. God is not my own strength through which I forgive. No, it is not my own. God is the strength in which I trust. It is not my own strength through which I forgive. It is through the strength of God in me which I am remembering as I forgive. As I begin to see, I recognize his reflection on earth. I forgive all things because I feel the stirring of his strength in me. And I begin to remember the love I chose to forget, but which has not forgotten me. Oh, Jed, my dog just did that. Let's see if we can get set back up here to where I can continue on. God is the strength in which I trust. It is not my own strength through which I forgive. It is through the strength of God in me, which I am remembering as I forgive. As I begin to see, I recognize his reflection on earth. I forgive all things because I feel the stirring of his strength in me. And I begin to remember the love I chose to forget, but which has not forgotten me. Lesson 48, there is nothing to fear. How safe the world will look to me when I can see it. It will not look anything like what I imagine I see now. Everyone and everything I see will lean toward me to bless me. I will recognize in everyone my dearest friend. What could there be to fear in a world that I have forgiven and that has forgiven me? 47, or 49, I mean. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. There is not a moment in which God's voice ceases to call on my forgiveness to save me. There is not a moment in which his voice fails to direct my thoughts, guide my actions, and lead my feet. I am walking steadily on toward truth. There is nowhere else I can go because God's voice is the only voice and the only guide that has been given to his Son. And review number 50. I am sustained by the love of God. As I listen to God's voice, I am sustained by his love. As I open my eyes, his love lights up the world for me to see. As I forgive, his love reminds me that his Son is sinless. And as I look upon the world with the vision He has given me, I remember that I am His son. Let's see if I can set this here so that won't happen again, falling over. Okay. So God is the love in which I forgive. God is the strength in which I trust. There is nothing to fear. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I am sustained by the love of God. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the strength in which I trust. God is the strength in which I trust. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the strength in which I trust. There is nothing to fear. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. Okay. Well, hopefully you took just a moment to close your eyes when I sang that, and you could count that as one of your 2-minute practice periods. You might even count it when I opened as one of them if you did it as a meditation. Tomorrow we'll be going on to lesson 61, which will be our second section. Still in part 1 though, the undoing process. Okay, let's go back and look at our text reading. And we're ready for, we're in chapter 7, the gifts of the kingdom, Roman numeral 5, healing and the changelessness of mind. The same section, except it's in the original edition, if you're following along, it'll be chapter 7, Roman numeral 6, but it's called the same, healing and the changelessness of mind. It'll read a little differently, though. Luke chapter 16. They edited out more and kind of rearranged things a little bit from the original edition to the Foundation for Inner Peace version. Iyengar Yoga, stay with the same pages that we did yesterday, which is 74 and 75. And then start with A Course of Love, chapter 17. Read about the first half of that chapter. Okay, now let's take a look at, see if we can read through this. Healing and the changelessness of mind. The body is nothing more than a framework for developing abilities, which is quite apart from what they are used for. That is a decision. The effects of the ego's decision in this matter are so apparent that they need no elaboration, but the Holy Spirit's decision to use the body only for communication has such a direct connection with healing that it does need clarification. The unhealed healer obviously does not understand his own vocation. 2. Only minds communicate, since the ego cannot obliterate the impulse to communicate because it is also the impulse to create. It can only teach you that the body can both communicate and create, and therefore does not need the mind. The ego thus tries to teach you that the body can act like the mind and is therefore self-sufficient. Yet we have learned that behavior is not the level for either teaching or learning, since you can act in accordance with what you do not believe. To do this, however, will weaken you as a teacher and a learner, because, as has been repeatedly emphasized, you teach what you do believe. An inconsistent lesson will be poorly taught and poorly learned. If you teach both sickness and healing, you are both a poor teacher and a poor learner. 3. Healing is the one ability everyone can develop and must develop if he is to be healed. Healing is the Holy Spirit's form of communication in this world and the only one he accepts. He recognizes no other because he does not accept the ego's confusion of mind and body. Minds can communicate, but they cannot hurt. The body in the service of the ego can hurt other bodies, but this cannot occur unless the body has already been confused with the mind. This situation, too, can be used either for healing or for magic, but you must remember that magic always involves the belief that healing is harmful. There's an idea. When he's using the word magic, he says that magic always involves the belief that healing is harmful. This belief is its totally insane premise, and so it proceeds accordingly. 4. Healing only strengthens. Magic always tries to weaken. Healing perceives nothing in the healer that everyone else does not share with him. Magic always sees something special in the healer, which he believes he can offer as a gift to someone who does not have it. He may believe that the gift comes from God to him, but it is quite evident that he does not understand God if he thinks he has something that others lack. 5. The Holy Spirit does not work by chance, and healing that is of him always works. And I might mention when you're using A Course in Miracles idea of what magic is, there are some people that use magic in a different way, and I wouldn't criticize or think that they're doing something that's. We want to make sure that what we're calling magic is what this specialness concept. Paragraph 5, the Holy Spirit does not work by chance, and healing that is not of him always works. Unless the healer always heals by him, the results will vary. Yet healing itself is consistent, since only consistency is conflict-free, and only the conflict-free are whole. By accepting exceptions and acknowledging that he can sometimes heal and sometimes not, the healer is obviously accepting inconsistency. He is therefore in conflict and is teaching conflict. Can anything of God not be for all and for always? Love is incapable of exceptions. Only if there is fear does the idea of exceptions seem to be meaningful. Exceptions are fearful because they are made by fear. The fearful healer is a contradiction in terms, and is therefore a concept that only a conflicted mind could possibly perceive as meaningful. Paragraph 6. Fear does not gladden. Healing does. Fear always makes exceptions. Healing never does. Fear produces dissociation because it induces separation. Healing always produces harmony because it proceeds from integration. It is predictable because it can be counted on. Everything that is of God can be counted on because everything of God is wholly real. Healing can be counted on because it is inspired by His voice and is in accord with His laws. Yet if healing is consistent, it cannot be inconsistently understood. Understanding means consistency, because God means consistency. Since that is His meaning, it is also yours. Your meaning cannot be out of accord with His, because your whole meaning and your only meaning comes from His and is like His. God cannot be out of accord with Himself, and you cannot be out of accord with Him. You cannot separate yourself from your Creator, who created you by sharing His being with you. 7. The unhealed healer wants gratitude from his brothers, but he is not grateful to them. That is because he thinks he is giving something to them and is not receiving something equally desirable in return. His teaching is limited because his learning is so little. His healing lesson is limited by his own ingratitude, which is a lesson in sickness. True learning is constant and so vital in its power for change that a son of God can recognize his power in one instant and change the world in the next. That is because by changing his mind, he has changed the most powerful device that was ever given him for change. This in no way contradicts the changelessness of mind as God created it, but you think that you have changed it as long as you learn through the ego. This places you in a position of needing to learn a lesson that seems contradictory. You must learn to change your mind about your mind. Only by this can you learn that it is changeless. 8. When you heal, that is exactly what you are learning. You are recognizing the changeless mind in your brother by realizing that he could not have changed his mind. That is how you perceive the Holy Spirit in him. It is only the Holy Spirit in him that never changes his mind. He himself may think he can, or he would not perceive himself as sick. He therefore does not know what his self is. If you see only the changeless in him, you have not really changed him. By changing your mind about his for him, you help him undo the change his ego thinks it has made in him. We're supposed to see their holiness even if they don't see it. 9. As you can hear two voices, so you can see in two ways. One way shows you an image or an idol that you may worship out of fear but will never love. The other shows you only truth, which you will love because you will understand it. Understanding is appreciation, because what you understand you can identify with, and by making it part of you, you have accepted it with love. That is how God Himself created you, in understanding, in appreciation, and in love. The ego is totally unable to understand this because it does not understand what it makes, does not appreciate it, and does not love it. It incorporates to take away. It literally believes that every time it deprives someone of something, it has increased. I have spoken often of the increase of the kingdom by your creations, which can only be created as you were. The whole glory and perfect joy that is the kingdom lies in you to give. Do you not want to give it? 10. You cannot forget the Father because I am with you, and I cannot forget Him. To forget me is to forget yourself and Him who created you. Our brothers are forgetful. That is why they need your remembrance of me and of Him who created me. Through this remembrance, you can change their minds about themselves as I can change yours. Your mind is so powerful a light that you can look into theirs and enlighten them as I can enlighten yours. I do not want to share my body in communion because this is to share nothing. Would I try to share an illusion with the most holy children of a most holy Father? Yet I do want to share my mind with you because we are of one mind, and that mind is ours. See only this mind everywhere, because only this is everywhere and in everything. It is everything because it encompasses all things within itself. Blessed are you who perceive only this, because you perceive only what is true. And the last paragraph, 11. Come therefore unto me, learn of the truth in you. The mind we share is shared by all our brothers, and as we see them truly, they will be healed. Let your mind shine with mine upon their minds, and by our gratitude to them, make them aware of the light in them. This light will shine back upon you and on the whole sonship, because this is your proper gift to God. He will accept it and give it to the sonship, because it is acceptable to him and therefore to his sons. This is true communion with the Holy Spirit, who sees the altar of God in everyone, and by bringing it to your appreciation, he calls upon you to love God and his creation. You can appreciate the sonship only as one. This is part of the law of creation, and therefore governs all thought. Okay. Oh, let's see. What's going on around the world today? I found a near-death experience I want to tell you. Deborah King, the near-death experience of Deborah King. It's 55 minutes. It's an Anthony Sheen production. Highly worthwhile. I would encourage you to take 55 minutes and watch it, though. Ramadan, Lent, and the Great Lent continue. And today's the last day for Ayin-i-Ha, Interclary Day for the Baha'i folks. St. David's Day, patron saint of Wales. Monlam, the great prayer festival of the Buddhists, is today. And Sugar Maple, or it's a Sugar Moon, which is the Ojibwa and the Mashantucket Pico celebrated maple syrup time. And then out of holidays and observances, it's Asiatic Fleet Memorial, Baba Marta Day, Baby Sleep Day, Beer Day in Iceland, Clean Up Australia Day, Daughter and Sons Day, Disability Day of Mourning, Endometriosis Awareness Day, Finishers Medal Day, International Women of Color Day, Namesake Day, Black Women in Jazz Day and the Arts, Black Women in Jazz and the Arts Day. Dadgum, that's a good day. Fruit Compote Day, Horse Protection Day, Hotel Slipper Day, March 1st Day, Minnesota Day, Peanut Butter Lovers Day, Pig Day, Texas Stress Day, Sage Day, Wedding Planning Day, Welsh Corgi Day, Nuclear Free and Independent Day, Plan a Solo Vacation Day, Public Risk Management Day, Refired, Not Retired Day, Self-Injury Awareness Day, Share a Smile Day. Can you be sure to do that? Show your appreciation. That's what we just learned. That's see the Holy Spirit in everyone. You need it. St. David's Day, World Civil Defense Day, World Compliment Day, World Seagrass Day, and Zero Discrimination Day. And then out of edible landscaping, we've got the Kristen Sweet Cherry, a Prunus avium, and it says of the Kristen out of edible landscaping, we've grown Kristen at the nursery for many years, and it is a favorite for many of us here. The dark fruit has a rich flavor and is one of the first dark sweet cherries to ripen. Grows well up north to Zone 4, so it's the highest quality of the hardy sweet cherries. Space about 10-foot circles for the dwarf and 15-foot circles for semi-dwarf. Zones 4 through 7. And our word for peace today is from the Bambara people of Mali, and it's Errébé. Errébé. Errébé be with you. Peace be with you. Okay, let's take a couple minutes and sing our song. Tell you what, let's do. Let's read our lesson. We won't read the whole lesson, but God is the love in which I forgive. God is the strength in which I trust. There is nothing to fear. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I am sustained by the love of God. Let's read the last one. I am sustained by the love of God. As I listen to God's voice, I am sustained by His love. As I open my eyes, His love lights up the world for me to see. As I forgive, His love reminds me that His Son is sinless. And as I look upon the world with the vision He has given me, I remember that I am His son. So let's be sure to do just that. And I'm going to try to get done in less than 30 minutes today. So I'm sorry I made a mistake on that the last couple of days. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the strength in which I trust. God is the strength in which I trust. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the love in which I forgive. God is the strength in which I trust. God is the strength in which I trust. There is nothing to fear. There is nothing to fear. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God. I am sustained by the love of God because God's voice speaks to me all through the day. There's nothing to fear. God is the strength in which I trust. God is the love in which I forgive. And be sure to be thankful to your brothers so that you can truly forgive them. So, that's the proof that you're forgiving, because you feel appreciation for all your brothers and sisters. You'll be seeing them the way the Holy Spirit wants you to see them so that you can remember God. And our word from the Bambara people of Mali is Errébé. Errébé be with you.